All right, guys, we're gonna do a steak comparison video. Outback versus, it was gonna be originally gonna be Texas Roadhouse, but now it's gonna be Longhorn. So we're gonna do the Outback steak first, and then we're gonna do the Longhorn steak, and we're gonna do a full review of Longhorn Roadhouse, Longhorn Steakhouse as well. We already did a review of Outback earlier, so you can watch that video if you want to know how the surf and turf in Outback was. But enjoy the video of steak. So we ended up getting the 12-ounce steak, the sweet potato, and the lobster mac and cheese. Now, if you're watching the steak comparison video, we're just going to have the steak. But if you're watching the review video, we're going to have all three. So let's start with the steak, because that is the one that I'm going to have both videos actually for. There we have the cut steak. It's pink, but not quite pink enough. And it didn't actually go through like knife through butter. It was a little harder to cut than I had hoped, but this isn't a premium steakhouse and it looks like a decent cut of beef. So let's actually see how this tastes. So here we go. Here's a fillet of the steak. I order all my steaks rare because I like my steaks alive and mooing when I eat them. Check that out. Scrumptious steak. Let's see how this tastes. It's pretty chewy. I like the flavor they have baked over the top. A hint of sour, but pretty good beefy taste. Now it's not dry aged because the flavor is not that intense, but for a lower priced steakhouse, this honestly isn't bad. The grade of beef is pretty good. I ordered it rare. It doesn't cut through like knife on butter. It's not like the super ultra premium choice beef, but for a $20 steak, if you ordered the steak by itself without the mashed potatoes and the sweet sweet potato, it would be $20. And just take a look at it. It's not bad. It is chewy, but the seasoning on it and the overall flavor of it, the cooking on it, is pretty good. So, pretty good steak. I say for the steak, I give it like a B minus range in terms of quality of steak, but pretty good for the price. So, if you're watching the entire review video, we'll move on to the lobster and the sweet potato. If you're watching the comparison video, let's head over to Texas Roadhouse. One part about the steak I didn't add in the last one. See that white strip in here, like right there? That has to downgrade the steak to a C because it makes it way too chewy. So while the steak is pretty good tasting overall, that white strip, no good, my friend, no good. So a grade C quality steak. So we are at Longhorn Steakhouse. Now I'm going to do like a review of Longhorn Steakhouse for this video as well. But for the comparison with Outback Steakhouse, I actually got the surf and turf as well, just like the last video. And we will see which house actually has the better steak. For the comparison, I'm only doing the steak, but I will review the entire surf and turf meal for Longhorn. There'll be two separate videos. Right now, we have the bread. And I think I like this bread more than the bread at Outback. And they have some melted butter, which I really like. So let's see how this tastes. So now we have the bread. It is, I think it's more wholesome bread than Outback, but the butter is not on the level of Fleming's. Nice warm, and the butter is savory. So, pretty good bread, but not on the level of the more expensive steakhouses, but really good compared to Outback, I would say. So let's move on to the salad. Got a garden salad, a couple of croutons. You can see the salads right here. Basically just lettuce and cheese and croutons. So let's see, the crouton tastes okay. It's got a little more flavor than the Outback version. But I'm not gonna judge it too harshly on the salad because the salad is basically like rabbit food at all these state restaurants, and I'm not a rabbit. So it's not a huge part of the meal for me. Basically lettuce leaves. Pretty good. A little more tasty than the Outback one, but not much difference because it's a salad and all these salads taste the same. So let's wait for the lobster. I mean, not the lobster, the lobster macaroni and cheese, the lobster baked potato, and of course, the steak. So I'm gonna have to see how all that tastes. Then we're gonna do a review of Outback first, and then compare the two steaks. All right, let's see how the rest of this night goes. So this is what I got for the surf and turf. Got 8-ounce sirloin, lobster macaroni and cheese, just like Outback. And we got this lobster baked potato. That's something special I ordered. These two things cost the exact same as Outback. This was a little bit extra because I wanted to get it for the actual review. So let's see how all this stuff actually tastes. We'll start with the mac and cheese, and then we'll go with the steak. And the steak will actually be in both videos, both the Longhorn review video and also the comparing it with Outback Steakhouse. So that, let's see how this stuff tastes. We're going to start with the lobster and shrimp mac and cheese. So, got some mac and cheese here, no lobster and shrimp so far. I think the shrimp, I actually had a kernel of shrimp in there. I think the addition of the shrimp makes it slightly tastier than the other one I had over at Outback. And now we're gonna have a bit with the lobster. You can see the lobster just in there, the red stuff. The lobster honestly doesn't stick out. The cheese flavor actually overpowers the lobster. Not a fan of that. So let's actually have a bite with the mac and cheese, the shrimp, and the lobster in the same bite, and see if the flavor comes out. Nice chunky bite with all three. A little bit more seafood taste. But honestly, I'd rather just had the lobster by itself. So, lobster mac and cheese, although I think it's fairly similar to Outback, but it is a little bit better in my opinion. Has the shrimp in it, same price, definitely a little bit better than Outback, so passable. I would give it like a B maybe, but that lobster taste definitely needs to come out more. Now we move on to the lobster baked potato. This is the first time I've actually had a lobster-based baked potato. It is somewhat drizzled in cheese. Gotta fish the lobster out of the cheese, which is weird to say, and then get some baked potato with it. It's kind of a odd bite here. Lobster cheese baked potato. I mean, I don't know. Lobster's probably better by itself, but the loaded baked potato with the lobster definitely better than just regular bacon bits. Not really sure if it's worth the cost, but I would give it like a B minus, honestly. Baked potato with lobster still has that lobster flavor, but a lot of cheesy flavor, which generally is not my favorite to go with a lobster. So now the main event, the steak. I'm gonna cut the steak, how easy or not it is to cut, show you the inside of the steak, and then we'll have a taste test of the steak. There you have the cut steak from Longhorn. It was much easier to cut than Outback, and in my opinion, it doesn't have all the rough stuff in it, so I think it's a higher quality steak than the one at Outback, but we'll have to see how it tastes. So here we are. This is, you see the red meat, it's rare because I always get my steak rare. I like my cows bloody and mooing. That's how I eat steak. Seasoned pretty well. Very nice smell to it. You can see it's rare, and it was much easier to cut than Outback. So let's see how it tastes. Very good. Honestly, it's much easier to chew than Outback. It's not Kobe beef, obviously, but Far easier to chew and swallow as rare steak, and it tastes actually quite good for rare steak. So overall, the steak is much better than the one I had at Outback Steakhouse. I'd give this steak, for the price, I'd probably give it a B+. Has that good steak taste. It's very good and rare. It's not hard to chew. It's very easy to cut. So B+, A- for the steak. Overall, for this meal, I would definitely give it like a B+ for the entire meal. I mean, I think the macaroni and cheese could be a little more tastier with a more infused with a lobster flavor. The potato is kind of a nice gimmick, but I'd probably just rather have the lobster by itself. But the steak is quite good. So between Longhorn and Outback, Longhorn easily wins on who has the better steak. And also, just between the two surf and turfs, Longhorn easily is better than Outback for the two surf and turf meals. So that is the review and the comparison. Let me know what you think, like and subscribe, and I will see you at the next meal.